Let's talk love handles. What are they? What causes them? And how can we eliminate them using diet, nutrition, exercise, all of the things that we already are thinking about. This episode, we're going to dive into some of the causes of love handles and some of the unconventional ways we can actually start eliminating them by actually looking at what is causing it from a deeper root issue. What's affecting our hormones? What's putting us in a place where we're gaining fat, especially in our love handles? And you can extrapolate this to belly fat too. I think a lot of times visceral belly fat, love handles kind of go hand in hand. But we're going to really focus on the love handles because I think that is something that I've got a lot of questions about. And so want to do a deep dive on that, how we can fix this issue and then really show up feeling our best, looking our best, taking our shirt off and being proud of what we're bringing to the beach this summer. You're listening to the Low Carb Hustle, home of your $1 million body method, where we help you get leaner and live longer and, without love handles. My name is Nate Palmer. I've been a coach since 2008. I've helped over 1,200 people level up their health and fitness. My mission is simple. I want to show you how to easily drop fat so you can feel lean, strong, and energetic. So if you want to learn some of the cutting edge strategies on how to eliminate love handles, then stick around, my friend. Let's do this. So I remember this time we were in Seattle. We went camping. We were out there with my friends, and it was kind of like my wife was pregnant with my second kid, and I'd been putting on some weight over time. I was calling it bulking, quote unquote. I was bulking, right? Gaining size. I'm getting thick, right? And I remember as I was getting ready to go to the lake, noticing that you could kind of see, or my wife was taking a picture of me, and you could see my love handles through my shirt from behind, and I was like, that's a little weird. And I remember this very clearly where I'm standing at the lake and I put on like a sun shirt. And I remember being so grateful that I had brought the sun shirt with me. Even though everyone else was running around in their, bikinis, I just didn't want to put on my bikini. I just felt embarrassed, and I've never really dealt with that before. So it really stuck with me in this feeling of like, oh, I don't like how I look. And therefore I'm limiting what I'm willing to do. Like I wasn't doing some of the cliff jumping and diving in, swimming around in the lake that everyone else is doing. And I've never had that experience. And it stuck with me. And I was like, this feels bad. This is not what I want to feel like when I go to a place like this where I'm camping and enjoying and hanging out with my friends and family. But this episode is more than just like about aesthetics, right? Love handles themselves can be a sign of deeper health challenges like high stress, having a kid on the way, the second kid on the way, sleep issues, from having a little baby in the house, hormonal imbalances. And so today we're going to break down like 5 unconventional steps that helped me transform my health, drop about 40 pounds, eliminate love handles, and feel really confident when I go anywhere or take my shirt off in the garage in front of the golf course that I live near. Anyways. So what causes love handles? So I think that is kind of where we need to start, because there's a couple different things. If you just look at like a baseline, most trainers are going to tell you, well, you're just eating too much, right? Too many calories. And that's probably part of it. Poor diet and high sugar intake leads to storing additional calories as fat, but it also leads to something more insidious, which is insulin resistance. Because as you're resting, you're fasting, glucose levels go up and your A1C levels go up, your body becomes more resistant to being able to use insulin to take glucose, aka sugar, from your digestive system, from your blood, and use it in your muscle cells, right? That's kind of the main function of glucose in a healthy body. We take it, we put it into muscles, we use the glucose to run our muscles. We store about 11 grams of glucose per pound of muscle and about 110 grams in your liver. So what this means is that the more muscle you have, the better your body is equipped to deal with additional spikes in glucose. So I always think about the more muscle you have, the more tacos you can eat. That's a bonus, right? That's a win. But there's beyond even that, there's some additional hormonal issues. Number one is stress and elevated cortisol levels. When you have really high stress, when you're dealing with a lot, you have a lot on your plate, your mind is just constantly worrying. You're worrying about stuff at work. You're worrying about stuff at home. You just can't shut this off. Your cortisol levels increase. And when your cortisol levels increase, storing fat in the abdominal area in the love handles goes way up. It just becomes much easier to do that, which is not what we're looking for, obviously. So in a perfect world, even if you're eating the exact same foods as someone else, but they have really low stress, low inflammation, they're not going to be storing as much fat in their midsection, which is kind of crazy. So a lot of these things can be done without meticulous tracking of your calories and hardcore boot camps, just by simply adjusting your lifestyle to ensure that your hormones are where they need to be. Another factor that plays into hormonal imbalances is poor sleep. So for me in this stage of my life, we were waking up a couple times a night, we're dealing with the baby, like that's a stage, is the season. But there are things that we can do to improve our sleep, going to bed earlier, decreasing the Netflix and the doom scrolling and that sort of thing. Because what happens is when we sleep poorly, they disrupt our hunger hormones. So our ghrelin is our satiety hormone, which means that we get this hormone that spikes when we've eaten a big meal and we don't feel hungry anymore. So that's, you're like, I'm full. That's ghrelin. Leptin, on the other hand, is our hunger hormone. And that's what we get when we're like, man, I'm feeling a little peckish. I have a little snack. I go for a little treat right now. And the less we sleep, the more our leptin levels are elevated. So much so to the point where if you are sleeping poorly, people tend to eat about 340 additional calories the next day. So every time you sleep poorly, you're going to be eating more calories just as a product of that, because your body's always looking for energy. And so if it didn't get it from sleep, it's going to look for it from food. And what are the highest energy foods? That's right. That's all the sugars. It's the sweet. So if you have a sweet tooth, let's look at your sleep before you start going ham on the macro tracking. And then the last one I've seen a lot of is lack of movement and sedentary work habits, keeping you from moving, especially after a meal. So the good news here is these are all things that you can control, especially with just a few small strategic changes that we'll get into in this episode. So let's talk about stress relief, because stress and elevated cortisol levels, like we said, cause that increased cortisol, which stores more fat in the midsection of the belly. So one of the things that you can add in here is just a mindfulness or a meditation practice. And a lot of people freak out because they're like, meditation, do I have to sit on a mat and cross my hands like this and put my fingers like that and say, and then, like, do I have to put on like a robe, a tunic? I only have a bathrobe. Like, so people freak out and start thinking way too hard about this. But my friend, Yogi Brian has a sleep app, Sleep with Yogi Brian. He's got a couple other like meditation courses and stuff. He's just amazing at this sort of thing. But he's also very crass. So if you're into that, then I got the guy for you. But we had lunch the other day and we were talking about meditation, and I kind of brought up to him like, well, I just don't feel like I can sit down for a full 30 minutes and just, sit and just do nothing. Like I get so twitchy. He's like, all right, try this real quick. I was like, okay. He's like, relax your butt cheeks. I was like, all right. He's like, now relax that left butt cheek. I was like, okay. He's like, now relax your right butt cheek. I was like, all right. And he's like, see that? You just meditated. But his point was basically meditation can be these micro moments in time where we're just really, really present. We're focused on our body. We're focused on looking at the tip of a pencil. We're focused on one thing where all the noise is gone. And this works because meditation actually will lower cortisol, which reduces your body's ability to store abdominal fat, which is crazy. So you don't need an hour. You don't even need 30 minutes. Start with 2 to 3 minutes of just deep breathing. Just focus in on your breath, into the nose, out to the mouth, into the nose, out to the nose, whatever works for you. Or you can use a simple guided app like Calm or Headspace or Meditate with Yogi Brian. Anything like that is going to give you a great place to start. And I like some of those guided meditations because they actually just tell you what to do. And that's kind of nice to be told what to do. I feel like so often we're just having to make all the decisions in our life all the time. And I think that one of the things that my clients like best about working with me is that they go, hey, you just told me what to do in the gym. I didn't have to think about it at all. It was perfect. I make all the decisions in my company. It's so nice to just have someone else tell me what to do for my nutrition, for my workouts, et cetera. So I'm not having to make all those decisions on my own. So I've noticed that when I incorporate meditation into my life, and I started to do this in like 5 to 10 minute chunks throughout the day. So if I'd have like half hour available to like do work, I would spend the first 5 to 10 minutes sitting down and just on the floor in my office and doing some deep breathing. The crazy thing that for me though, is that like what would happen is I would start like 5-8 minutes in, I would start getting so many other ideas that it was hard for me to like shut off the noise. So I would just stand up and start getting to work. And I always felt like I could do a lot more work in less time. I felt more clear headed and I just felt more relaxed. Like, people cutting me off in traffic wasn't bothering me. So, however you want to work this in, 5 minutes at a time, 2 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, or you want to sit down on a yoga mat and meditate for an hour, then more power to you. The next step is optimizing your sleep for fat loss, because poor sleep disrupts our hormones, increases your cravings, increases your your sweet tooth. And when you're sleeping poorly, I'm just going to say this, fat loss is impossible. When you're sleeping poorly, fat loss is impossible. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not do another boot camp class or track your macros for one more day until you address sleep. Because we had a client and she was doing everything right. She was tracking, hitting all of her macros. She was fasting. She was training 4 times per week. She was walking all the time, and her weight was stagnant. It was stuck. And she was like, I'm doing all the things. What is going on with me? And so we went back and we looked at her data from her Aura ring, where she had been tracking because she's a data nerd, which I loved. And we saw that she was sleeping about 5.5 to 6.5 hours every single night. So we implemented a few simple things in her life, implemented the 8 and 6 sleep system into her evenings. And all of a sudden she went up to like, she was in bed for 7.5 hours, but she was only getting 5.5, 6 hours of sleep. So she went from that, through being in bed 7.5 hours, to getting 7 hours of sleep, waking up with a lot more energy, getting 90 minutes of deep sleep, 90 minutes of REM sleep roughly. And all of a sudden, everything else started clicking. She started losing weight quickly. She started feeling a lot better. It just made the process so much more seamless. So a couple actionable tips that you can take from her is just set a bedtime routine for yourself. And I know a lot of parents tell me that, well, I can't really do a bedtime routine for myself because my kids don't even have a bedtime routine. So getting on a plan where like the last hour of your day is scripted out. So for my kids, we play pretty hard until about 7:00, 7:10, 7:15, we start getting ready for bed. We go to the bathroom, put our PJs on. And then sometimes we'll just take a walk, even just like a 20-minute walk around the neighborhood. And that seems to calm everybody down and just kind of put us into a better state. I think getting outside in the evening is always a good idea, especially if you live in a place where it's not snowing. That's a pro tip right there. And then once you get that there, then we take the kids inside, we read the story, then everyone goes to bed. My son likes to stall at the moment. He's 3. So he wants to ask a lot of questions. So we just go, okay, you get 3 questions, ask me your 3 questions. And he goes, what are we doing after my nap? He's a big planner, really big worrier. Seems like he's always very concerned about what's happening after he wakes up. So we go through that. And at this point, though, it's like that Pavlovian dog response. If you can just create a system and a structure that you adhere to, all of a sudden your kids start falling in line a little bit more because they know what to expect. We're not different. I'm not different from a 3-year-old. I go through the same sleep routine every single night. I go to the bathroom, do my thing, brush my teeth. Then I go get in bed. I put on my alarm. I put on my sound machine. I take my sleep mask. I put it on my forehead. I grab my book. I put it in the specific place. I pull my blanket up. I do my thing. I read till my eyes get heavy, put the book away, slide the sleep mask down, and I'm asleep within 2 to 3 minutes. It's magical. And I'm always just so like ready for sleep and like bundled up at that time. I just feel it's just so relaxing. So get a sleep routine that works for you, and there's a million different ways you could do this. And if you want something that is proven to work, the 8 and 6 sleep program is amazing. Just go to 8and6.com to check that out. But one of the key things for me has been cutting screens 30 minutes before bed. An hour is better. 30 minutes is fine. And then consider using blue light blocker glasses if you're going to be like on your phone, watching TV. Just try to not watch TV in bed also. Use bed for sleeping and sex. That's it. And then if you need, like I said, if you need additional help, I have a whole program that goes through that, how you can have more energy, wake up, having burned fat, feel your best, have more, get more success in your business, be better in your relationships, etc. Because sleep is the foundation, it's the cornerstone. Once I started prioritizing my sleep and started having a better, more consistent sleep routine, getting to bed, I woke up always more motivated. I didn't feel like I needed to snooze my alarm. I ate better just naturally. Like I didn't take a lot of effort and work on my part. And then I had the energy for my sprints. I had the energy for my workouts. I had the energy and the motivation to do those things because I didn't feel like I was dragging ass all the time. The next step, I think this is a key piece. We talked about this. I've talked about this several times, but we do this in my sugar detox. So anytime I have someone come in, generally with like a 21-day program, we did a fat loss program, started in January. And the first 5 days of it is always a sugar detox. We try to eliminate sugars, processed sugars, dehydrated carbs. And then the second day we start doing what I call the physical detox, which is basically walking after each meal for 5 to 10 minutes. There's an ancient Ayurvedic principle called Shatapavali, which means 100 steps. And the idea is that after you eat, you take 100 steps, you just walk for 100 steps. And that's going to improve your digestion, improve your insulin sensitivity, help manage your blood sugar, and then help you partition those nutrients from the food you ate into muscles and not into fat storage. This is such a simple tip. It doesn't cost anything. It barely takes any time, but hardly anyone does it because it's just, a little inconvenient, or maybe we eat at our desk. We're addicted to our phones. We can't sit up from our computers. So, but if you can just even stand up at your desk after meals, to move around a little bit, this is going to make a massive difference. Even just 5 to 10 minutes of walking around, and if you go outside, even better, can make a massive difference. I also like to do this with my kids after dinner. Just kind of incorporating the family and the kids into a fitness routine, have them see us walking, have us seeing us prioritizing our health, is always a win. So I don't have a whole lot else to say on that. Just walk after your meals. It's such a simple, low barrier of entry thing that you can do that's going to help you eliminate love handles and belly fat. Now let's get into something that's a little bit more intense. So walking is good. Walking is gold. It's kind of the gold standard. I love the idea of kind of the spectrum of movement. On one side you have walking, on the other side you have sprinting your brains out, and then this middle ground of like jogging. Like, just skip all that. The jogging, the elliptical, I just don't like it. I don't like the repetitive movements. I don't like the impact, and I don't think it's really great for body composition change. Unless you love running. If you love running, great. I love that for you, but don't feel the need to run just because that seems like what Rocky does when he's cutting for his fights. So on the one side we have walking, on the other side we have sprinting. Sprinting for fat loss is awesome. High intensity sprints really prioritize fat loss while building muscle and improving your hormonal balance. Think about this. When you are sprinting, your body does not know you are not sprinting away from a tiger, right? All it knows is stress and strain. So when you're sprinting, your body thinks the way that I stay alive in this situation is by having less fat and more muscle. So we evolved in such a way to be able to, live. That's kind of our body's main goal, is to keep us alive, right? So using this idea that if we want to stay alive, we need to be stronger and less fat. This is such a critical way. This is why I like bodyweight movements like pull-ups, squats, push-ups, things like that, where you're moving your body through space, is because your body will respond to these movements like hill sprints or whatever by putting you in a hormonal space where you're more able to build muscle and you're more able to burn fat. It's just how we evolve. So again, it's like working with your body instead of against it. This is so good. And especially if you are able to sprint, most people, they say after you hit 30, you'll never sprint again. Like 97% of people or something like that will never sprint after they turn 30. If that's you and you haven't sprinted in 10 years, then take it really, really slow. Okay. Everybody tears their hamstrings their first time back to a rec league softball game. So begin with like just some fast paced walks. I like a hill sprint for this because it forces you to lean forward, giving you better, like a better running posture. It also decreases the amount of impact and force on your knees and your joints because you're stepping up rather than stepping on a flat ground, and it protects your hamstrings. So what I would do, especially if you haven't done it before, just go find a hill. I think 30 to 50 meters is plenty. That's yards. If you don't do metric, and it doesn't need to be crazy. Just something like that. Start off by walking up, and then I like to walk down backwards. If you walk down backwards, it'll stretch your calves out. You will be sore the next day, but if you keep doing it, it'll feel a lot better. You'll protect your ankles. And then just gradually now start a little light jog, and then go a little bit faster, and then go a little bit faster and a little bit faster. So your first time out, try not to get above 80% of your max speed. Even if you're like, I could do it, I feel pretty good. Just save it for another day. Save it for round two. And then once you get into it and you've done it a couple times and you're feeling pretty good about it, then I still would start off with like a light jog, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%. And then we start touching on those 90, 95% all out efforts. But you really want to be warmed up well before you jump into that. Even if you have been sprinting in the past, it's just such a fast twitch, explosive exercise that you don't want to put yourself at risk for injury. So hill sprints are such a great way to build muscle, especially in your calves, your hamstrings, your glutes, and burn fat, especially in your love handles and your belly fat. So hill sprints kind of became a cornerstone for me of my fitness routine, even in the Arizona heat. After that moment in 2020, I just started going to this hill near my house in Tempe called Kiwanis Park, about a 50 meter hill. And I would just jog up and walk down, jog up and walk down. And I was really only doing probably like 10 to 12 like reps. But each one took me, about 15 seconds to get up and then, to walk back down, rest until I felt like I was able to push it hard again. You don't need to go with a sprint. A lot of times trainers will say like, hey, you got to sprint for 60 seconds. That's not possible to sprint for 60 seconds. If you're sprinting for 60 seconds, you're not sprinting, you're running. So keeping it a little bit higher intensity when you're running and then giving yourself the break that you need. Most of the time when I'm doing like a sprint on the assault bike or the rower, which by the way can be also great options here, you want to do like a 1 to 2 minimum, or 1 to 3 is even better, work to rest ratio. So I like a 15 seconds on, 45 seconds slow rest recovery on any of those like apparatuses. Who knows? Words are hard. But so when you get down from your sprint, take a second, gather yourself, and then make sure you have enough energy to really be able to perform at your top level, rather than just jumping right back into it feeling completely gassed out. Okay, sprinting is a very intense activity, so warm up really well, start off really slow, and then make sure that you have enough energy to do it with full focus and good form of the next set. Okay, that's like the secret weapon. If you can start implementing hill sprints into your routine, guaranteed you are going to lose fat quickly. So love handles are the results of stress, poor sleep, inconsistent habits. Small changes that you can incorporate right now today, like meditation, walking after meals, better sleep, and strategic sprints, can make a massive impact on your health, on your love handles, on your fat loss. That moment by the lake made me realize that I didn't want to really like hide behind my clothes, hide behind a sun shirt. I wanted to lead by example for my family, for my community. And honestly, like, I'm not special. If I can do this, so can you. You can absolutely do this. And it wasn't like I did it, I came back home and overnight I dropped 40 pounds. It took me like 5.5, 6 months to do it, of focused work. The other thing I will say here is I stopped drinking alcohol pretty much like consistently for that time period. I think I maybe drank like once a month when I was losing weight. That was also a really, really big thing for me, because not just alcohol obviously is poison and it causes us to gain belly fat. Like, that's why they call it a beer belly, but also alcohol completely crushed my sleep. And when I found out is that I was drinking, then I would wake up the next day tired and I would eat more, and it would take me like a day or two to get back to kind of feeling 100%. And that just didn't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze for me. Like a moment of feeling like loose and relaxed, to having like 2 days to recover to get back to the things that I actually valued and thought were important in life. It was like kind of a tough realization for me, because I like drinking with my friends. It's fun. So if you want to fast track your results, if you want some help with this, designing a program that incorporates weight training, walking, hill sprints, accountability, etc., reach out to me. Hit me up on Instagram. Let me know. I'd love to be someone in your corner to help motivate, inspire, and push you in that way. Or if you're just like, I'm just struggling with my sleep, I want to wake up with more energy, then check out the 8 and 6 sleep program at 8and6.com. Thank you so much for checking this out. I hope this was helpful for you. I want 2025 to be the best year ever for you. So if there's anything that I can do to help out, please let me know. I'd love if you shared this episode, subscribed, rated us on any of the platforms. Any of the things that you can do like that are a massive benefit, super, super helpful. Don't cost you anything. And I'll love you forever. And you'll have really, really good luck this year. That's just science. Talk to you soon.